Our next speaker is Pam Schoenfeld, Registered Dietitian and the author of reinventyourdiet.com. Pam.
It's best to hold it. Okay. Thank you, Sally. As Sally said, I'm Pam Schoenfeld. I'm a registered dietitian. And first, I'd like to give you a little background about why I'm a registered dietitian. And then I'll just touch on a specific nutrient that I think the dietary guidelines has seriously overlooked, an important nutrient, that's choline. So, at the age of 51, I earned my RD credentials, which stands for Registered Dietitian. My motivation to become an RD was and continues to be helping people get access to accurate nutrition information, information that is based firmly in science and not on any other agenda such as politics or profits. 10 years ago, while doing a search on soy on the internet, I discovered the information taught by the Weston A. Price Foundation. Thank you, Sally, for that. Changed my life. My first reaction was that it was contrary to everything I had learned during my undergraduate years and contrary to everything that I was hearing in the media. I embarked on a personal mission to find out if the science could back up what the foundation teaches. The more I read, the more I realized that the weight of the evidence supported the fact that animal products, including the fats, are vital for human health, along with other principles that the Weston A. Price Foundation teaches. I feel I've come a long way in those 10 years in my knowledge and understanding of nutritional science, and I believe that the research literature now even more strongly supports Weston A. Price Foundation principles. My purpose here today is to speak for the registered dietitians across our country who are earnestly working to make a difference in the health of their patients and the public. The majority of these well-meaning dietitians are taking the information that they are told is evidence-based, not only by the American Dietetic Association, but by the USDA, and helping unsuspecting people apply it in their own lives. Some of the information, such as eating more fruits and vegetables, can be helpful, but other information will actually leave people less well-nourished over time, and as we see, overweight and obese. In a moment, I will provide you a few examples of things that I witnessed during my education, as I just completed it about a year and a half ago. Fortunately, my husband has a good job, so I'm able to practice fortunately, that's good, right? What I believe is true than what is widely endorsed by conventional medicine. For myself, I've decided to slowly build a private practice on my own rather than working in a conventional setting such as a clinic or a hospital. I have to admit it would be easier for me to get referrals from doctors if I just subscribed to the low-fat dietary principles. If I really did need to make a living on my own, I would be forced to compromise on what I know to be true. I would be required to dispense nutritional advice that is largely based on the dietary guidelines for Americans. I would have to choose between making a living and really helping people get well through a nourishing diet. I'm very grateful that I don't have to make those choices, and I believe my patients are as well. Because of the current dietary guidelines, people have been led to believe that very nourishing foods like egg yolks, cheese, red meat, organ meats are unhealthy for them. In my training, I have seen, these are examples directly from my dietary training as a dietitian and the internship experiences I had in hospitals and other places. I've seen frail, 90-year-old women prescribed low-fat diets and beg me for cheese. Yes, and I was told I could only give them low-fat cheese, incidentally, which I couldn't even find, so I snuck them high-fat cheese. I've seen women with gestational diabetes, that means they're pregnant, told to limit their intake of egg yolks, one of the best dietary sources of choline that women sorely needed during pregnancy for the health of their baby. I've seen people with diabetes told it's okay, eat pancakes, just make sure you use the margarine we give you and the artificial syrup. And mind you, their blood sugars are all over the place. I've seen teenagers being told by the USDA, trained nutritionists, they really are not very well trained, but they tell the teenagers in high schools they should limit their red meat and eat poultry without skin, when we know that there's a real problem with anemia in young teenage girls, and there's also great need for iron and zinc in young teenage boys. I fortunately was able to counter that misadvice on that one occasion, but I'm sure it's going on to this day. And in my own practice, I have lots of examples, but I'd like to talk about, in the area of salt, I've personally counseled high school athletes who felt they should not be salting their food because it was bad for them, and yet they were experiencing extreme electrolyte deficits because of their heavy sweating during exercise, which could be very, very, very dangerous. So we've seen some athletes drop on high school football fields, etc. So, well, I could go on, but despite all of this, I do believe that someday as a nation we will wake up and realize the wrong path we've been on. But how long can our healthcare system survive the cost of this wrong dietary advice? How long can our educational system afford the cost of all the children with the learning disabilities? Disabilities that might be prevented if the moms knew which foods they should eat during pregnancy and which foods they should feed their children. How long can we afford to incarcerate young adults who are born to women who ate the unbalanced diets promoted by the governmental WIC and SNAP programs, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistant Programs, formerly called the food stamps? I'll take a breath. I'm a little emotional about this. In the meantime, I will continue to give my patients dietary advice that has not only stood the test of time, but the test of science. And I will continue to help bring this valuable information to those who may not have access to it, which is unfortunately most of the people who participate in those governmental programs. At least, I will do this at least until the time the dietary guidelines reflect the best science we have. And I have to thank Adele for her work with me to hopefully make the Healthy Nation Coalition happen and make all these things that we dream of possible. So now I would just like to briefly go over the shortfall nutrient, choline. The term shortfall nutrient is used by the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee to describe nutrients the American public does not get enough of. Choline is very essential. Most of the work on choline has been done by Zeisels. He's at UNC where Adele is, his group at University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And these are the functions. I'm not going to read them, but you can see how important they are.